Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So we're reading from Srila Prabhupada's translation of Sri Caitanya Charitamrta. It is chapter 10, starting at text 137. Prabhu kahe Ishvara haya paramasvatantra Ishvara Kripa nahe Veda Parantantra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the spiritual master, Ishvarapuri, are completely independent. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Ishvarapuri is not subjected to any Vedic rules and regulations. Text 138. Ishvarera kripa jati kulati na mane vidura gahara gare Krishna karila bojane. The mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not restricted to the jurisdiction of caste and creed. Vidura was a Sudra, yet Krishna accepted lunch at his home. Can someone chant text 139? Just go ahead, jump in. Lord Krishna's mercy is dependent only on affection. Being obliged only by affection, Lord Krishna acts very independently. So what is Krishna's mercy dependent on? Affection. Thank you. That's okay. That's fine. It's okay. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is merciful, but his mercy does not depend on mundane rules and regulations. He is dependent only on affection. And nothing else. Service to Lord Krishna can be rendered in two ways. One can serve the Lord in affection or in veneration. When service is rendered in affection, it is the Lord's special mercy. Can someone ask the pujaris to please talk softly? Could you? One can serve the Lord in affection or in veneration. When service is rendered in affection, it is the Lord's special mercy. When service is rendered in veneration, it is doubtful whether Krishna's mercy is actually involved. If Krishna's mercy is there, it is not dependent on any prescribed caste or creed. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to inform Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Lord Krishna is the spiritual master of everyone, and he does not care for mundane caste or creed. Therefore, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu it's in the hallway? Okay. Therefore, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu cited the example of Lord Krishna's accepting food at the house of Vidura, who was a Sudra by birth. By the same token, Ishvara Puri, an empowered spiritual master, could show mercy to anyone. As such, he accepted Govinda, although the boy was from a Sudra family. Govinda was initiated. He became a Brahmana and was accepted as Ishvara Puri's personal servant. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sri Sanatan Goswami states that if one is initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, he immediately becomes a Brahmana. A pseudo-spiritual master cannot transform a person into a Brahmana, but an authorized spiritual master can do so. This is the verdict of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Goswamis. Jaigaranga, oh, he's not here now. Okay, he had to go. Can someone chant text 140, please? Is there a microphone? Okay. In conclusion, dealings in affection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead bring happiness many millions of times greater than dealings with him in awe and veneration. Simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, the devotee is merged in transcendental bliss. Text 141.
Eta bali govindare kaila alingana govinda karila prabhura charana vandana.
After saying this, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Govinda, and Govinda in turn offered his respectful obeisances unto Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. 142.
प्रभु कहे भट्टाचार्य करह विचारा गुरु रा किंकरा या मान्य से आमारा.
Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then continued speaking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Consider this point. The servant of the spiritual master is always respectable for me. Text 143.
Tanhare apana seva karaitana yuyaya Guru agnya diya jena ki kari upaya.
As such, it is not befitting that the Guru's servant should engage in my personal service. Yet my spiritual master has given this order. What shall I do? Purport. If a Guru's servant or disciple becomes godbrother to another disciple, they respect one another as Prabhu or master. No one should disrespect his godbrother. For this reason, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya what to do about Govinda. Govinda was the personal servant of Ishvara Puri. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master, Ishvara Puri, ordered Govinda to become Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's personal servant. So what was to be done? Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was therefore inquiring from Bhattacharya, an experienced friend. Next verse.
Bhatta kahe guru ra jnana hai balavan Guru agyana na langi ye shastra praman.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, the order of the spiritual master is very strong and cannot be disobeyed. That is the injunction of the Shastras, the revealed scriptures. Text 145.
Na shushruvan matari bhargavena Na shushruvan matari bhargavena Pitur niyogat prahartam dvisadavata Pratyagrihid agraja shasanam tat Agya guru nam hi avicharaniya.
Being ordered by his father, Parshuram killed his mother, Renuka, just as if she were an enemy. Lakshman, the younger brother of Lord Ramachandra, immediately engaged himself in the service of his elder brother and accepted his orders. The order of the spiritual master must be obeyed without consideration. Purport. This is a quotation from the Puranas, Raghava 14:46. Lord Ramachandra's statement to Sita given below is from the Ramayana, Ayodhya Kanda 22.9. Go ahead.
Nirvicharam guroradnya maya karya mahatmanaha shreyo hevam bhavatyascha mama chaiva visheshataha.
The order of personality, like a father, must be executed without consideration because he is good fortune in such an order for both of us. In particular, there is good fortune for me. 47.
Tabe Mahaprabhu Tanre Kaila Angikar Apanashi Anga Sevaya Dila Adhikar.
After Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said this, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Govinda and engaged him in the service of his personal body.
Prabhur Priya Pratyakari Sabe Karamana Sakala Vaishnavaira Govinda Kare Samadana.
Everyone respected Govinda as the dearest servant of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and Govinda served all the Vaishnavas and saw to their needs.
छोटा फाड़ा कीर्तनिया दोई हरिदासा रामाय नंदाय राहे गोविंदेरा पाशा.
Both Haridas Sr. and Haridas Jr., who were musicians as well as Ramai and Nandai, used to stay with Govinda.
गोविंदेरा संगे करे प्रभुरा सेवाना गोविंदेरा भाग्या सीमा न्याय नायाय वर्णाना.
They all remained with Govinda to serve Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, no one could estimate the good fortune of Govinda.
आराधीने मुकुंद दत्त कहे प्रभु रस्थाने ब्रह्मानंद भारती एला तोमार दर्शाने.
The next day, Mukunda Datta informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmananda Bharati has come to see you.
आज्ञा देहा यदि तंद्र आनिये इथाई प्रभु कहे गुरु तेन्हाये बतंद्र तानी.
Mukunda Datta then asked the Lord, shall I bring him here? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Brahmananda Bharati is like my spiritual master. It is better that I go to him.
Etabali Mahaprabhu Bhakta Gana Sange Chali Aila Brahmananda Bharatira Age.
After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees came before the presence of Brahmananda Bharati.
ब्रह्मानंद परिया से मृग जन्म मरा ताहा देखे प्रभु दुख पहला अंतरा.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees approached him, they saw that he was covered with a deerskin. Seeing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very unhappy. Purport. Brahmananda Bharati belonged to the Shankara Sampradaya. The title Bharati indicates one of the 10 sampradayas, 10 sannyasis in the Shankara Sampradaya. It is customary for a person who has renounced the world to cover his body with a deerskin or the bark of a tree. This is enjoined by Manu Samhita. However, if a sannyasi who has simply puffed up and conceited, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like to see Brahmananda Bharati wearing a deerskin. Text 155.
देखिए तछदम कैला ये न देखी दादी बुक देरा पूछे कहन भारती गोसानी.
Seeing Brahmananda Bharati thus attired, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pretended not to see him. Instead, he asked Mukunda Datta, where's Brahmananda Bharati, my spiritual master?
मुकुंद कहे आगे देखा विद्यमान प्रभु कहे तेन्या नहे न तुमी आगे याना.
Mukunda Datta replied, here's Brahmananda Bharati in your presence. The Lord replied, you are incorrect. This is not Brahmananda Bharati.
अन्ये रे अन्य कहा नाही तोमारा ज्ञाना भारती गोसानी केने परिबे न चामा.
You must be talking of someone else, for this is surely not Brahmananda Bharati. You simply have no knowledge. Why should Brahmananda Puri wear a deerskin?
शुनि ब्रह्मानंदा करे हृदय विचारे मोर Mora charma bara ne ena baya inahare.
When Brahmananda Bharati heard this, he thought, my deer skin is not approved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Bala kahe na charmambara damba lagi pari charmambara paridhane samsara natari.
Thus admitting his mistake, Brahmananda Bharati thought, he spoke well. I put on this deer skin only for prestige. I cannot cross over the ocean of nescience simply by wearing a deer skin.
Aji haite na pariba e charmambara Prabhu bahir vasa anaila janiya antara.
From today, I shall not wear this deer skin. As soon as Brahmananda Bharati decided this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding his mind, immediately sent for the robes of a sannyasi.
Charmambara chari brahmananda parilavasana prabhu asi kailatandra charana vandana.
As soon as Brahmananda Bharati gave up his deerskin and covered himself with sannyasi robes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and offered his respects at his lotus feet. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyanan Gyana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Does anyone know why people wear deerskins in the forest? Okay, so the sages of long ago who lived in the forest, they would wear deerskin because it kept away fierce animals like snakes and tigers. And when they saw the deerskin, somehow it emitted the vibration of, don't come near me. So, but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's completely independent and completely fixed on affection for his loving devotees, could detect in the mind something was not right. And so Brahmananda Bharati immediately thought to himself, Lord Chaitanya doesn't approve of my deerskin. He thought, it's because I have false prestige. I think I'm very special wearing this deerskin. I'm so renounced. I'm in the forest. And Lord Chaitanya could detect those thoughts. And of course, Brahmananda Bharati was so submissive to Lord Chaitanya that he immediately took off the deerskin, and Lord Chaitanya even provided him some sannyasi robes. So Lord Chaitanya is always loving his devotees, always checking their consciousness for how they can develop more and more and more love for Krishna. So next verse, please, text 162.
भारती कहे तुम्हारा आचार लोकाश शकैते पुनः न करी पेन तबुया panuchite.
Brahmananda Bharati said, you instruct the general populace by your behavior. I will not do anything against your wishes. Otherwise, you will not offer me respects, but will neglect me. I am afraid of this.
Sampratika dui brahma ihan chala chala Jagannata achala brahma tumita sachala.
At the present moment, I see two brahmanas. One brahmana is Lord Jagannath, who does not move, and the other brahmana who is moving is you. Lord Jagannath is Archa Vigraha, the worshipable deity, and it is he who is the non-moving Brahman. However, you are Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you are moving here and there. Both of you are the same Brahman, master of material nature. but you are playing two parts. One moving and one non-moving. In this way, two brahmanas are now residing at Jagannath Puri, Purushottama. Next verse.
Tumi Gauravarna Tena Syamalavarna Dui Brahme Kailasa Jagatarana.
Translation. Of the two brahmanas, you are fair complexioned, and the other, Lord Jagannath, is blackish. However, both of you are delivering the whole world. Next verse.
प्रभु कहे सत्य कही तोमारा गमाने दुही ब्रह्म प्रकटिला श्री पुरुषोत्तमे.
Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu replied, actually, to tell you the truth, due to your presence, there are now two brahmanas at Jagannath Puri.
Brahmananda nama tumi gora brahmachala Shama varna jagannatha vashiya chena achala.
Both Brahmananda and Gaurahari are moving, whereas the blackish Jagannath is sitting tight and immobile. Purport. Brahmananda Bharati wanted to prove that there is no difference between the Supreme Lord and the Jiva, and Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to prove that is, and Brahmananda Bharati were Jivas. Although the Jivas are Brahmana, they are Brahmananda, there are many, but the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Brahman, is one. On the other hand, Brahmananda Bharati wanted to prove that Jagannath and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu are one, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But to fulfill his mission, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu appeared to be moving, whereas Lord Jagannath appeared to be inert. However, both of them are one and the same. Thus, this jolly argument was going on. Finally, Brahmananda Bharati referred the whole matter to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for a final decision. So Prabhupada here is explaining that it's a jolly exchange. It's a jolly argument. And we have a god brother. Hare Krishna, thank you so much for coming. Haribol. Srila Prabhupada had a disciple, and his nickname was Jolly Swami. His name was Sridhar Swami. And he was always laughing and telling jokes and being playful with the devotees. Even in the GBC meetings, he would crack jokes and so many things. So finally they had to get an arbitrator. They had to bring someone in to balance the meetings because this Jolly Swami was making other people jolly. And they were trying to get down to serious business. So that's what they did. It helped a little bit. Okay, next verse, text 167.
Bharati kahe sarvabhauma madhyastahana inhara sane amara nyaya bhuja manadiya.
Brahmananda Bharati said, my dear Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please become mediator in this logical argument between Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and me.
Vyapa kalpavi jiva ramejani jiva vyapa brahma vyapaka shashtete vikani.
Very nice, very nice. Brahmananda Bharati continued, the living entity is localized, whereas the Supreme Brahman is all-pervading. That is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. Purport. Haribol. Purport. There's a little purport here. So these are Prabhupada's words. Brahmananda Bharati drew Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya attention because he wanted him to judge the argument. He then stated that Brahman, the Supreme Lord, is all-pervading. This is confirmed by Bhagavad Gita. So, Srila Prabhupada here writes that Lord Chaitanya consulted with his devotees because the Bhattacharya was actually Brahaspati from a previous birth. So he wanted to impress upon the devotees how that a pure devotee's insight and realization is to be valued very deeply. So Jaishnav, could you chant the verse that's coming up? Kshetra.
क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां वेत्ति सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारता क्षेत्रे क्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवं यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम.
O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Bhagavad Gita 13:3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature is expanded everywhere. The Brahma Samhita says, Andantara sta paramanu Caitanya stam. By virtue of his all-pervasive nature, the Supreme Lord is within the universe as well as within all elements of the universe. He is even within the atom. In this way, the Supreme Lord Govinda is all-pervasive. On the other hand, the living entities are very, very small. It is said that the living entity is 1/10,000th of the tip of a hair. Therefore, the living entity is localized. Living entities rest on the Brahman effulgence, the bodily rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Go ahead.
Charma kuchana koil amara shadhana tonhare vyapya vyapakatveita karuna.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu purified me by taking away my deerskin. This is proof that he is all-pervasive and all-powerful, and that I am subordinate to him. Purport. Brahmananda Bharati herein asserts that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Brahman and that he is the subordinate Brahman. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Brahman, or Parabrahman, the chief of all living entities. Both the Supreme Brahman, or the Personality of Godhead, and the living entities are persons, but the Supreme Brahman is the predominator, whereas the living entities are predominated.
Suvarna varno hemango varnakaschandanangati sannyasa krichama shanto nishta shanti prayanaha.
His bodily hue is golden, and his whole body is like molten gold. Every part of his body is very beautifully constructed and smeared with sandalwood pulp. Accepting the renounced order, the Lord is always equipoised. He is situated in his dualistic conclusion and in his peace. Purport. This is a quote from the Mahabharata, Vishnu Sahasra Nam Stotra, 127, 92, 75.
ये सभा नामेरा इन्हा हाय निज स्पधा Chandanakta prasada dora Shri Bhuje Angada.
All the symptoms mentioned in the verse from Vishnu Sahasranam Stotra are visible in the body of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. His arms are decorated with ornamental bangles made of sandalwood pulp, and with the thread received from the Sri Jagannath deity. Text 172.
Bhattacharya kahe Bharati deki tamara jaya Prabhu kahe ye kaha se satyaya.
Thank you. After hearing this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya rendered his judgment, saying, Brahmananda Bharati, I see that you are victorious. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately said, I accept whatever Brahmananda Bharati has said. It is quite all right with me. Text 173.
Guru Shishya Yayaye Satya Shishera Parajaya Bharati kahe iho nahe anya he tuhaya.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus posed himself as a disciple and accepted Brahmananda Bharati as his spiritual master. He then said, the disciple is certainly defeated in an argument with the spiritual master. Brahmananda Bharati immediately countered these words, saying, this is not the cause of your defeat. There is another cause. So let's hear what it is.
Bhakta thani hara tumi eto mara svabhava ara eka suna tumi apana prabhava.
This is your natural characteristic. You accept defeat at the hands of your devotee. There is also another glory of yours, which I ask you to hear attentively.
Ajanma karinu mune nirakada dhyana tomadiki Krishna haila mora vidyamana.
Translation. I've been meditating on the impersonal Brahman since my birth. But since I have seen you, I have fully experienced Krishna. Purport. Brahmananda Bharati admitted that when there is an argument between the spiritual master and the disciple, the spiritual master is naturally victorious. Although the disciple may put forward a strong argument, In other words, it is customary that the words of the spiritual master are more worshipable than the words of a disciple. Under the circumstances, since Brahmananda Bharati was in the position of a spiritual master, he emerged victorious over Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who considered himself Brahmananda Bharati's disciple. However, Brahmananda Bharati reversed the argument and took the position of a devotee, admitting that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This means that the Lord was voluntarily defeated out of affection for his devotee. He was defeated voluntarily because no one can defeat the Supreme Lord. Concerning this, the words of Bhishma in Srimad Bhagavatam are important. Could someone chant this, please?
Swanigamama pahaya mat pratigna datamadhikartumava pluto datastha jitarato charano jayachalatkur haririvahantumivam gato tariya.
Fulfilling my desire and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran toward me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. Bhagavatam 1:9-37. Krishna promised not to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but in order to break Krishna's promise, Bhishma attacked Arjuna in such a vigorous way that Krishna was obliged to take up a chariot wheel and attack Bhishma. The Lord did this to show that his devotee was being maintained at the sacrifice of his own promise. Brahmananda Bharati said, "Since the beginning of my life, I was attached to impersonal Brahman realization. But as soon as I saw you, I became very much attached to the personality of Godhead, Krishna. Therefore, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna himself, and thus Brahmananda Bharati became his devotee." So Srila Prabhupada explains how Bhishma Dev knew that Krishna would serve his devotee over anything. So Bhishma Dev knew that Krishna had said that I will not fight in the battlefield. But he didn't care about his reputation or his promises. He cared about his devotees. So when he saw Bhishma with a chariot wheel running on the battlefield to kill Arjuna, when Bhishma was running on the battlefield to kill Arjuna, Krishna picked up the wheel and was running towards him. And as he was running, his little chadar fell off. It blew off in the wind. Krishna was running very fast. And so the whole battlefield could see, whoa, Krishna's got a chariot wheel in his hand. What's he doing? He said he wouldn't fight. So Arjuna was humbled because he knew Krishna was breaking his promise just for him. And so Bhishma Dev was remembering, and in the Bhagavatam it says that Krishna had little drops of perspiration on his body. And it was quite a beautiful scene, and his effulgence was quite beautiful. So everyone kind of stopped and looked at this amazing scene of Bhishma Dev being chased by Krishna, and just for the sake of his love for his devotee. So it was quite spectacular, truly, on a battlefield to see this, because everyone knew Krishna. Well, they didn't know him, but they kind of knew him. So next verse.
Krishna namasprahema ki manat netra Krishna toma ki tadrupa deke hridaya sharishna.
Brahmananda Bharati continued, "Since I have seen you, I have been feeling Lord Krishna's presence in my mind and have been seeing him before my eyes. I now want to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. Over and above this, within my heart, I consider you to be Krishna, and I am therefore very eager to serve you." So we'll do one more verse. Text 177, sorry.
Bilva mangala kaila yaiche dasa apanhara ihan deki se dasa haila amara.
Bilvamangala Thakur abandoned his impersonal realization for the realization of the personality of Godhead. I now see that my condition is similar to his, for it has already changed. Purport. In his early life, Bilvamangala Thakur was an impersonalist monist, and he used to meditate upon the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Later he became a devotee of Lord Krishna, and his explanation for this change is given in a verse, text 178, that Bhagavan realization of the Supreme Person after having attained the lower stages of realization, impersonal Brahman realization and localized Paramatma realization. This is described in Caitanya Chandamrita by Prabodhananda Saraswati. Could you chant the verse, Kaivalya?
Kaivalyam narakayate tridashapur akashapushpayate durdantendriya kala sarpapatali podkadadam strayate vishwampur Purna sukhayate vidimahendradischa kitayate yatkarunya kataksha vaibhavavatam tam gauramam me vastuma.
Thank you. Kaivalya oneness in the effulgence of Brahman appears hellish to the devotee. The heavenly planets, the abodes of the demigods, appear to a devotee like phantasmagoria. The yogis meditate for sense control, but for the devotee, the senses appear like serpents with broken teeth. The devotee doesn't have to control his senses, for his senses are already engaged in the Lord's service. Consequently, there is no possibility that the senses will act like serpents. In the material condition, the senses are as strong as poisonous snakes. When the teeth are broken, the snake is no longer dangerous. The entire world is a replica of Vaikuntha. For the devotee, because he has no anxiety, he sees that everything belongs to Krishna, and he does not want to enjoy anything for himself. He does not even aspire for the position of Lord Brahma or Indra. He simply wants to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he has no problem. He stands in his original constitutional position. All this is possible when one receives Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's merciful glance. In the Caitanya Chandramrita, there are many more verses illustrating this same principle. Could you read the Sanskrit, please? Next person.
Dikurvanti cha brahma yoga vidushastam gaurachandram numa. Tavad brahma kata vimukta padavi tavanna tigbhavaet tavacchapi virinchalatvamayate no loka veda sthiti tavachasta vidhammatita kalalo nana bahirvartumasu Shri Caitanya padambuja priyajano yavanna diggocharam. Gauraschauru sakala aharada kopi miti varvirya.
Very beautiful, thank you. A discussion of the impersonal Brahman is not very palatable to a devotee. The so-called regulations of the Shastras also appear null and void to him. There are many people who argue over the Shastras, but for a devotee, such discussions are but tumultuous roaring. By the influence of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, all these problems disappear. So I'd like to talk about Srila Prabhupada and how he translated these books. Can someone take this book for me? And how he translated these books by the mercy of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, by the mercy of his spiritual master. So while Srila Prabhupada was translating, he was attacked by many enemies. He was in the middle of translating the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he was in Bombay in 1971, and he got a death threat. This is connected to the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta because he was preparing to write. So one day he got a death threat from a group called the Naxalites. And they were very powerful rogues. They were kind of like, what do you call those soldiers who fight outside the government? Guerrillas, yes. And so they were doing guerrilla warfare, which means they were burning places up, they were assassinating people, they were making it very difficult. So these Naxalites came to one, and so these Naxalites, everyone knew that they were actually kidnapping, killing very wealthy men, businessmen all around India. And so they sent a death threat to Prabhupada. They said, "Fly or die." And so Prabhupada received this note, actually several notes, not just one, several. And he wasn't alarmed, but he did contact the police, the Bengali police. And the police said, "There's nothing we can do." He said, "They're rogues and thieves and assassins, and they're killing people all over India." Because their thing was communistic India. They wanted their beliefs to be accepted by everyone. So this is what happened. Naxalite terrorists threatened Prabhupada's life. These young communist terrorists who had been active in Calcutta during Prabhupada's visit of 1970 had never disturbed him until now. Their tactic was to approach prominent businessmen in their homes or on the street and coerce them into cooperation with Naxalite political objectives. If a businessman refused, the Naxalites would burn his house or place of business or even assassinate him. The Naxalites, who were eager for all of Bengal to turn from their religious traditions and embrace communism, saw Prabhupada rekindling the religious spirit in Calcutta. Prabhupada's tremendous crowd-gathering pandal, they concluded, was undermining the principles of communism. Fly or Die read the note Prabhupada received. He informed the police, who regretted their inability to help him. They said the whole of Calcutta was in terror of the Naxalites. Prabhupada, however, refused to be intimidated. He would not fly. Even if they were to attack him, he said, what better way for a Vaishnava to leave his body than while preaching the glories of the Lord? So then Srila Prabhupada was having these huge pandals, and at first, the first night, 10,000 people came. The next night, 20,000 people came. And no one could figure out how everyone was fitting in, because they were saying the tent is expanding because we only got it for 10,000 and now we got 20,000. So the next night, as Prabhupada came before the crowd to speak, he noticed a group of rowdy young men, Naxalites, near the stage. They were protesting the preferential seating of certain dignitaries on stage. When one young radical shouted that the radicals themselves wanted to dance on stage, the devotees invited them to join in the kirtan. The Naxalites backed down, but continued shouting and disrupting the meeting. So what they did was they started throwing chairs around, because there was some chairs for older people, for dignitaries set up. And so they objected. They thought, well, why are you giving preferential treatment? So then they started picking up the chairs and throwing them and banging them and making a lot of noise. So then we'll see what Srila Prabhupada does. They're wooden folding chairs. So they were calling out Naxalite slogans, threatening to burn the place down. They were going to burn the place down. Others in the audience began talking nervously, and the commotion increased. So in a vain attempt to bring order, some of the devotees threatened the dissenters. Pushing and scuffling broke out in the audience. So all of a sudden, Srila Prabhupada's voice comes over the loudspeaker. Chintamani prakara sadma shukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhiya vipalayantam. So Prabhupada's voice rang over the loudspeaker. Appearing uninterested in the crowd, depending only on Krishna, he began singing prayers from the Brahma Samhita, and within minutes, everyone quieted. Shh. There was no noise. Everyone was listening to Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental voice from the spiritual world. So then those who wanted to leave left, and those who wanted to stay sat down. The crowd subdued. Prabhupada lectured. So the Naxalites cooled down till the next attack. So then Prabhupada received several more fly or die messages. And then the Naxalites returned the next night. Well, it was the next night. And they threatened again to burn the pandal. So Srila Prabhupada, he said, call them. I want to speak with them. So here's these assassins, and people are going to burn the place down, and Prabhupada said, I want to talk with them. I will meet them. The devotees thought it was very unsafe, but Prabhupada insisted. In a small room behind the pandal, Prabhupada spoke with the hostile youths. They were angry and disrespectful at first, but as Prabhupada explained to them the Vedic concept of communism, with Krishna at the center, he caught their interest. They agreed to allow Prabhupada's meetings to continue without any further disruptions. So our Srila Prabhupada faced the worst odds when people tried to kill him by sending fly or die messages, and they had already killed so many people. So who were these Naxalites? These Naxalites started in 1967, and there's a small village called Naxalabita in Bengal, and the peasants were revolting because the government was stealing their property, stealing their lands, their crops, and so they started a group called the Naxalites because they wanted to defend their rights, which is, you know, people need land to live on. They need their crops. So that's how it started. It was named after a little village. So then Prabhupada writes, we have a little book. We have a little book in Srila Prabhupada's short stories when it talks about the Beatles. And so Srila Prabhupada's talking about the Beatles, and then there's a conversation recorded in that book. Now, that book was printed way back in the 70s. And when it was first printed, Prabhupada had written a letter to the Beatles. And it's not in there now. It's been taken out for some reason. I don't know why. So in Prabhupada's letter, he said, the Beatles have achieved such name and fame because in a previous life, they were wealthy, kind-hearted landowners. They were very rich, they were very generous. They helped the poor people get established with their land holdings. And so Prabhupada wrote, this is why they are achieved so much fame in this life, because in the past life they lived a very pious life. So that's the story. I don't know where the letter went. I mean, there's been many publications of this little book, with Srila Prabhupada's conversations with the Beatles, and then one time I looked and the letter wasn't there. So we can talk to the BBT and find out where the letter is. Okay, anything else? We can stop here. Time for breakfast. Any comments? Any realizations? Any corrections? Anything? Just shout it out. You can get the microphone. You're so quiet and shy. What would you say to the Naxalites if they sent you a fly or die message? Oh, I gotta have breakfast now. See you later. Okay, yes. Get the microphone. Okay, Jaishnav has a question. Slowly, speak slowly and clearly.
You said the sages wear deerskin to not attract the tigers and snakes, but then they would be more attracted because they think that's a deer and deerskin.
I was thinking that very same thing. He asked, why would Brahmananda Bharati and other sages wear the deerskin? Because you'd think it'd be more attractive, because the animals prey on the deer. Somehow or other, once the deer is dead and gone, the deer skin takes on some kind of quality that it frightens other animals. So when they see a dead deer skin, it's not like a live deer skin. So sages would wear the deer skin, and it worked. Somehow or other, it worked. So Lord Caitanya was not concerned that Brahmananda Bharati would be attacked by animals. He was more concerned that Brahmananda Bharati take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet and look to him for protection. So he was seeing that Brahmananda Bharati was having a little prestige. You know what prestige is? It's when you think you're super wonderful, but you're not. It means that you think you're, important. So Lord Caitanya saw the prestige. He also saw he should take shelter of Krishna, because in the material world, people think they can get protection from their family, from deerskin, from all kinds of stuff, but they can't. They get protection from Krishna, who's the supreme, all-powerful personality of Godhead. So that's my take on it. But you can research it and find out. There's probably more information about that. So also Prabhupada was showing that, like in the Pandals, when he was giving his lectures, he could see these Naxalites who were throwing chairs around, making threats of burning the place down. The devotees almost got into a fist fight with them, but then Srila Prabhupada started singing from the Brahma Samhita, and everything stopped, because the microphone was super powerful and it overrided the fighting. So everyone's heart was captivated by Prabhupada's voice. In fact, I heard Srila Prabhupada say in a tape lecture, you should play my voice out when you go on Sankirtan. He said you should use loudspeakers and play my voice. I heard him say that, and I thought, that's perfectly wonderful, because we want to hear his voice, because he's right from Vaikuntha. He's right from Goloka Vrindavan. Please forgive my offenses and my shortcomings. I pray for the dust of your lotus feet be on my head always. I'm so fortunate to have devotee association. So do you girls want to say anything? You can say anything. Just say something. Do you have a takeaway from the class? Besides, watch out for the Naxalites? Okay. Wonderful. Mother Kunti says that her takeaway from the class is depend on Krishna. Would you like to say anything else? Anything more? That's a beautiful takeaway. Sail away, sail away, sail away. We're going to sail away to the prasadam room. Hari bol. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. All glories to the bravery of Srila Prabhupada, who stood up to some wild youths who wanted to kill him. And he called them to speak with them and boldly started preaching about Krishna communism. And they liked what he said. And it calmed them all down. And they were ready to cooperate with him. And they were fierce. I mean, they were fierce. They were, guerrilla warfare stuff. Thank you. Hare Krishna.